Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of the Adria Twin 600 SPB Supreme. So as we start, we'll walk around on the driver's side of the vehicle first. The first point you get to is your mains connectivity point. So this is where you would connect the vehicle to 240 volt on site or at home if you were home charging. So you would get your hooker blade, lift the collar and expose the ends, and then just slide it on. Hook the vehicle first, then the power source, and obviously do it in reverse when unhooking, just so that you're not walking around with a live lead in your hand. Next to it you have your vent for your Truma heating and hot water panel. So this is where your boiler is located on the vehicle, so it's underneath the dinette seat, should you ever need to get access to the boiler. And then coming further back, you've got your cassette loo. So with on the keys, you've got one habitation key which opens this lock here. Push them in. Make sure the blade on the bowl of the toilet is in the closed position, otherwise you'll not be able to lift the cassette out because it'll be stuck in, and that's got to be shut. Then you'll be able to lift the blue handle here and slide this out. You will then remove the cap, which is a blue end here, until it exposes it like this. Carry it off to your waste disposal site, which is normally beside your toilet block. Press the button at the back, the blue button, and tip out. Tip it out, put some water in, give it a rinse, tip out again. Then if you're using the chemical, you'd pour 120 ml of chemical down here into the cassette, and it's good to go back into the vehicle. Or if you're using the tablets, you push it back into the van, flush a pint of water into the cassette, followed by a tablet which is either the green or the blue, and the cellophane wrapper. You just drop that straight down the toilet and it'll break down in the water into the chemical. You do also have a handle there so you can drag it if it's too heavy to carry when it's full, and that will just clip back in like so. And then you'll notice this little red handle. This little red handle opens your waste. So on the door, it indicates that your waste is just below. If I put this key into here, and push it up into the open position, so you've got an open and a closed position for your waste. It'll drain out directly underneath the chassis here. So you would drive over your motorhome service point when you're leaving the site, and you would want to let your wastewater out. This is any water you've used, so showering water, hand basin water, dishes water. You'll want to let it out before you leave site, just to make you lighter on a payload so you're not as heavy on diesel. And you'll also want to let it out in the winter so it doesn't freeze, because if it did freeze, it isn't covered under warranty, as frost damage is your responsibility to make sure that the vehicle is drained down at all times. At the back here you do have your fresh water, so this is your habitation key. This is a lockable cap. Take the cap off, go and buy yourself a hose pipe and some hose pipe ends, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site. Pop a hose pipe in there, wait until it either overflows or until you're happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see on the main control panel. So it'll go up in increments, so 15, 25 and so on, until you get 100% of fresh water. To drain your fresh water off, if you open the back doors, just underneath this side of the mattress, you lift this panel out, and this is your top of your freshwater tank. So this grey lever here, if you turn it 2 times to the left, the water will start draining out underneath the chassis, and that will drain off a full tank of fresh water. So if you've not using the van for a while, drain it down. If you're putting it in storage or just standing up in the winter when you're not using it, make sure all the water is drained out, because you wouldn't want the water to freeze in that tank, split it and flood and damage the vehicle, because again it's not covered under warranty as it's frost damage. Storage under here, and you've got your tethering points to tie your bits and pieces down, carb mat, habitation carpets, and then this will all lift up. So if you did want it, it's hinged from this side, so this lifts up and you can put your bikes and bigger items in there should you wish. And then here you do have your LPG locker, so liquid petroleum gas. This takes 2 6-kilogram propane bottles, which are in here like so. So we've got our test bottle on. So once you've put a bottle on, the first thing you would do, using the straps provided behind, is tie the bottle in. Then to connect this pigtail, it's a left-hand thread. You will need an adjustable wrench or gas spanner and just to nip it up, and then you turn the bottle on and off from the top. Always make sure that the bottle's turned off when travelling, as it's safer if you are involved in any collision. Turn it on when you arrive on site. Press this button for 3 seconds. It allows the gas through the crash valve, and always make sure this yellow nib is pushed in. If it's popped out, that's the crash valve on the regulator. It's popped out, you just need to push it back in to allow the gas through for your various gas appliances. High level reverse light and reverse camera. Got your USBs here in the back, and all these little lights are individually switched, which I'll show you from inside. On the back doors you do have blackout blinds and fly screens, and then if you just pull the clip, departs the 2 blinds, and then you do have the window, which is quite self-explanatory. You just open it, turn these to keep the window out on the stairs, loosen them off to bring the window in, and always make sure all your windows and skylights are shut before use. Coming down the passenger side of the vehicle, obviously you've got your alloy wheels, your electric step. There's your waste there, sorry, so you do open it from the other side, but it drains off from this side. So you would drive this side of the vehicle close to the grid on site, and then you would allow that to drain out should you have used it, or should you be draining it down, which is called winterizing, for in the winter months when you're not using the vehicle. Diesel filler, which opens with the main ignition key, so it's a lockable diesel cap. And then you've got AdBlue, which is the 19-litre tank. AdBlue is a solution for your exhaust, just to clean it out from carbon deposits at a certain temperature. So it's a 19-litre tank. From a full tank it will do about 5,500 miles. When you get the light on, which is between the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge, it does look like an exhaust light. Simply go to your local petrol station. Most petrol stations now have AdBlue on the pump, or you can buy it in the drums and top it up. But please top it up as soon as the light comes on, because you've only got a set range, otherwise the vehicle will go into limp mode or fail to start if it went completely dry of AdBlue, because it's to protect the engine. .5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi on your tyres. You've got your battery isolation switch, so there's a red key that slots in there, and you need to make sure it's on to work the 12 volt off the leisure battery. Should it be off, then it's not going to work and you can't take the key out. So you would normally turn it off if you're standing the vehicle up so there was no battery drain, i.e. in the winter again, and you'd want to turn it on when you were using it. Leisure batteries underneath the seat. Underneath here is your engine battery. All your 12 volt fuses are underneath this seat here. So it would be a good idea to carry some spare fuses. So you would just lift that blue cover off and you've got all your fuses there. So do carry some spares, and then you can replenish the fuse if it did blow. And then your bonnet release is on the side of the dashboard. So coming to the left hand side, underneath the driver's steering wheel, you've got all your fluids. So you've got your screen wash, this lifts off, and you've got your power steering and your coolant. You've got your brake fluid, oil and oil filler, or should I say oil filler and dipstick, sorry, for checking your levels before your trips. Paint code for the white, which is 549. Weight plate, so it's phase 2 conversion. Don't go off this anymore, it's now a motorhome, it's not a chassis, it's not a van anymore. So 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight. With a tow bar you can tow a train weight of 6 ton. So that's the motorhome, and whatever you're towing can't exceed 6 ton. If you did ever need to jump start the vehicle, this is your earth here, and then behind the passenger headlight, put your key in the slot there, lift this up, and that is your positive. Once inside the vehicle, you've got your 2 main control panels. So you've got your Adria 12 volt control panel, and you've got your Truma digital control panel for heating and hot water, which I'll get onto in a moment. So I'll start with the 12 volt control panel. So to turn on and off, you just press here, and then it'll indicate if you're hooked up by this one here, which indicates that you are receiving 240 volt, and all your 3-pin sockets in the vehicle will work. If you didn't have this, you will just be running off your 12 volt leisure battery. To this side, if you scroll to the right with the wheel, you've got your leisure battery reading. So 13.5 volts in your leisure battery. Scroll to the right again, and the battery goes to the front, which indicates the vehicle battery, and it's 13.5 volts again. To get a true reading of batteries, always make sure that you're unhooked when you are reading them, because when you're hooked up, obviously they will give a little bit more of a false reading. Scroll to the left, you can turn the pump off and on. So this is the pump, it tells you how much fresh water, so we've got 50% of fresh water on board and 0% waste. As you've just seen, we have just let the water out. Come to your digital control panel for Truma. So to turn on and off, you just press and hold. This is kind of like the standby screen, so you just press enter to go into the menu, and in the top right hand corner you've got a motorhome with a thermometer in. This is how hot you want the vehicle to be. So you can go all the way to 30 degrees or all the way to off, depending if you want the heating on or not. But for this, we'll just say 30 degrees, and you will just press enter to preset that at 30 degrees. Moving on, you've got a water with a thermometer in. This is how hot you want your water to be, so click on that. If you didn't have any water on board, you would have it off, because it would be like boiling a kettle without any water in. You'd burn the element out. But if you did want to heat the water, you've got 2 options. You've got eco, which is 40 degrees of heating your water. Hot, which is 60 degrees of heating your water. And you've got boost, which will turn off the heating and prioritize the water first. But for this, we'll just say hot. So this is 60 degrees of heating your water, and press enter. And then you do have which source. So this one here is the source. We've got a picture of a gas bottle and some electricity symbols. So you can have gas on its own if you're wild camping and you didn't have any 240 volt hookup. You've got mix 1, which is 1 kilowatt of electric and gas. You've got mix 2, which is 2 kilowatts of electric and gas. So if you're in desperate need to heat the vehicle or heat the water in the winter months, using both sources together on mix 2 will really reduce the time it takes to heat the vehicle or the water. You would give it about 20 minutes on mix 2, and then you turn it back to electric, as you wouldn't want to waste your gas. You've got electric on 1 kilowatt. And you've got electric on 2. So you'd normally use electric on 2 on most sites throughout the UK. Electric on 1 abroad if you're on a smaller CL site. But if you're using any high voltage equipment at the same time as having the electric on 2, turn it to electric on 1, just in case it trips the vehicle out. But ask your site which amperage they give you through your cooker bleed, and this will determine whether you use electric on 1 or electric on 2. So for this, we'll just say electric on 2. And then in the top right, you've got the fan, so you can have it on eco or high. Eco takes a lower feed of 12 volt, and you can sleep with it on eco because it's not as loud. On high, it is designed to blow the heat around the van a bit more harder, just to get the vehicle up to temperature sooner. At the bottom, you've got a timer in the bottom left, so you can time the heating to come on and off just the once. You've got the clock on the main display panel, And then should you get a warning triangle, you can go into the settings, which is this one here in the bottom right. Go to reset, click on it, it'll say preset, click again, and what it's going to do is it's going to completely shut this control panel down, restart it, and you'd have to go back in and set the temperature, the water, the source and the fan again. And then to turn off, just press and hold like so, and it'll go off. So in the kitchen area, you've got 2 gas hobs, just like so. Allow them to cool down before you put the glass cooker hood down. And then you do have your tap. As long as your pump's on, you'll get pressurized water, and that's on the hot there, so it's getting nice and warm water there. Got storage, so you just push your cupboards and then they are on a gas strut. And below, got storage drawers. You've got your oven and grill. So you've got your grill first, which is lit like so. And you've got a light on there. Then if you go the other way, you've got your oven, which you can see lit at the back. Above the oven is where you'll find your gas isolation taps for the hob and the oven. So any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. Kitchen light and a 3-pin plug. And then your fridge is dead simple to use. It's just a 12-volt compression fridge. So you just wave your hand over, so you've got your on off button here, which you just press and hold, turn on and off. And temperature, so you can go up and down on the temperature. And then you've got the night, moon. So this is the night setting. So what that does is it just quietens the decibel of the fridge down on 12 volts. So this will work when hooked up or when not. As long as you've got charge in your leisure battery, it will work. But then when you are finished with it, if you clean it out, little blue clip here, put that in the middle and then just rest the door up against it. Don't shut the door, just leave it like that. When winterizing, this will stop any mold and bacteria growing in the fridge, as you don't want to come back to a fridge that's all green and nasty. Storage drawer underneath. In your washroom, so if you pull this here, you can shut the toilet off when showering, and you've got your shower cubicle with shower head. But one thing when winterizing, if you unscrew your shower head from your hose, allow your hose to lie in the shower tray, and leave all your mixer taps throughout the vehicle open. This will eliminate any water that's in the pipework behind to drain out. It'll also mean that any water that's in here, it drains out through the waste, and you'd have the waste open and obviously your fresh open, and then you'd open your boiler, which I'll get onto in a second, and that's how you'd winterize the vehicle. So always make sure this is taken down, unscrewed, and all the mixer taps throughout the vehicle are left open. This is just magnetic, so it'll just clip back. Got your light switches here. Plug's just a push plug. Some storage above for toiletries, and a reel to hang your wet towels or wet coats on. Let them drip dry. To operate your toilet, you've got your fresh water flush at the back, so make sure your pump's on and press the blue button. This will flush the toilet, so always flush the toilet first, which keeps the seal on the blade lubricated and it won't go brittle. And then what you need to do is slide this grey lever to the right. Use the toilet with the blade open. Flush after use, and then slide this to the left, as otherwise, like what happened outside, this was left open, the cassette won't come out. It needs to be shut for the cassette to come out. And then when the cassette is full, it'll indicate here, this red light this green light, sorry, will go red and indicate that it is time to change and empty the cassette. And then you do have your concertina door, which you take your strap off the top for when travelling, and that shuts the bathroom off from the rest of the vehicle. Underneath the floor, direct from the bathroom door, if you lift this panel out, this is where you'll find your drain down for your Truma boiler. So this is a frost control valve, so when it hits 3 degrees this will automatically open, but always check, don't rely on it, because if you ever get a faulty drain valve, you then become liable, because draining down the vehicle is not covered under the Adria warranty. It's your responsibility. So what you've got to do is ensure that when it's pointing from front to back and the button on the bottom here is closed. If it goes from side to side, the nib pops out, the button pops out, and this will drain 10 litres of water directly underneath the chassis. Leave it open during the time you've got the vehicle stood up and not using it, and then when you do come to reuse it, turn this front to back, push the button in. You'll also want to open this little grey tap here, which is just allows any water that's in the lines to drain off. Shut that, shut the fresh from underneath the bed at the back, shut the waste, shut all the taps through it out the vehicle, fill the vehicle with water via a hose pipe, come in, put the main panel on, put the pump on, go to the cold side of the tap first. You'll get automatic cold water because it's drawn from the main tank via the water pump straight to the tap. Go to the hot tap, or should I say the hot side of the tap. You'll get, it'll cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises, and what that's doing is it's drawing the 10 litres of air that's accumulated in the boiler out through the taps until you get a steady flow of water. Once you've got a steady flow of water on one tap, do them all, and then the system is primed and ready for the season. But ensure that you drain this down, because if you don't, it's not covered under warranty and it's a very costly mistake. At the back of the vehicle you've got your double bed, which can be lifted up, and like I said, there's little clips here which clip on to there to keep the bed up. If you put the control panel on, you've got all your individual switch lights, which if you pull these out slightly you can move them to where you want them and then just clip them back in. Got a dimmer light there where you can dim the lights above the kitchen, turn them on, and then if you press and hold you can dim them and they're getting brighter, as you can see. And then the light above this top switch does the light above the bedroom. Push your lockers and they're on gas struts and they'll open, so a nice firm close on them. And then your skylight, you push the button in and pull the bar back to open, or you can put in the grooves should you want a nice bit of ventilation. But always make sure that the bar's above the button and it's closed before you start travelling. Fly screen and a blackout blind for on an evening.